Check, check, check. Well, we're learning valuable lessons today about testing audio, aren't we? Oh, see, now it's going to work just fine. Okay. Practicing and working out the kinks in this audio system. Full stop. Join me. Exclamation point. All right. Let me do one more final check here before I start actually doing stuff here on this stream. Should have done this in the first place, right? All right. Well, we live, we learn, we vibe, we grow. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the second stream. This is actually the second stream because I did an entire practice session earlier and the audio was complete crap, even though I tested it beforehand. But I have now tested this audio a lot. And if I fail this time, I'm just going to be very sad and I'm going to go and pout for several hours after this. But I don't think we will this time. All right. So in this stream, I want to focus in a little bit more on the rhythm guitar side of things here. Specifically, since some people seem to have thumbs down my blues video, I guess we'll focus in a little bit on the blues rhythm figures here. One, the blues video is not a blues video. I just mentioned the blues in the context of the Mixolydian scale. So I'm just going to mention that. Two, let's make today a more concerted focus in on blues, specifically rhythm guitar playing, because it's something that I like to think I know a thing or two about, though I'm not a master. Used to play in a jump blues 1950s style rock and roll band, doing Chuck Berry covers and all of that sort of stuff. And I think the hardest easy thing to do on the instrument is just the basic boogie woogie figure. Mistake number one that I see people do is what is the boogie woogie figure? It's mistake number one is don't do it with your ring finger. Unless you've got to, just fire off a quick one on that. And you're going somewhere else right after that, but mostly you're just doing power chords. You should be approaching this the same way that we would approach a red pattern on the instrument here. So index, ring, pinky. And I'm going to use my middle finger instead of my ring. Now, why is that? If we're thinking about the points of power on the hand, we really actually, though we have 5 digits, 4 fingers and a thumb, hence 5 digits. We have the thumb, we have the index, we have kind of like what I call the super finger here, and we have the pinky. The pinky, though it is the smallest digit, actually has this very large muscle group sitting alongside it. Our pointer and our thumb have a ton of musculature, both on the back side and on the front side here, that are facilitating its grip. This is why we tend to pinch stuff like this, right? This digit here, our flipper, if you will, is kind of quirky because if you feel down on in your hand here, okay, Chris, don't use the picture, just look at your hand, feel your hand, right? If I feel down here, you can actually feel where these 2 fingers share tendons. And one's the driver, one's the passenger, one's the pilot, one's the co-pilot. And though a lot of people use their ring finger too much, especially if they're self-taught. It's actually our middle digit here that is the driver of the two. You can test this out yourself. It's kind of like an old style bar trick. If I put my wrist down flat against the surface, I can raise my middle finger off. I don't want it to look like I'm cheating, but I can't move that ring finger. That digit just does not go anywhere. So when we're doing these basic boogie woogie figures, use your middle finger here, and that'll actually give your pinky more maneuverability. Now, that being said, depending on the size of your hands, these are just going to make you more tired. So if you are someone like me who has average to slightly below average sized hands, consider, if you're doing a lot of these, switching to something that's known like a student scale 7/8 model. You know, I play the Mustang a lot. These figures are part of the reason why I like to play on the Mustang. I don't like these getting me completely gassed out. But when we're doing these, what we want to do is we're just going to do downstrokes here. We want to really get that chop of the downstroke. Now, that's pretty straight ahead, and what you'll see in most kind of basic beginner videos can be like maybe you stretch the pinky all the way up once you can get there. But to add a little bit more onto that puzzle, especially if you're comfortable just doing this, right? But that pinky stretch is kind of running you amok right now. Okay, let's just add a little bit of extra onto this. So we're just going to keep that same ergonomic figure, but I want you to go from the E string to the A string. So it's kind of like we're doing like the walking bass does in this type of music, right? Only a little bit of an auditory illusion. The illusion comes from your ear instinctively focuses in on the tonic the first time I play the power chord. And then after this, now I'm hearing that the fifth over the tonic. It's kind of nifty. You can add more into this too. You can do a little pinky run. All right, so let's go ahead and get a little practice with the shuffle here. We're going to go for endurance more than anything. Let's just get settled in for a few measures. All right, let's get the stretches going now. We're going to do 4 of each. Back to A. Back to F. A. Let's go D. That's 5 on the A. Back to A. D. A. down to the F again. Okay. Oh, that stretch, right? We're going back down to that F. Hey. D. Hey. D. To A. All right, F. Back to A. Last time. Down to F. Say. Now, the reality is that rhythm is exhausting. That was 3 minutes and 40 seconds of practice. And I think sustaining endurance test style practice exercises like this are really the way to go, because when we're talking about getting a more homogeneous, uniform stroke in our rhythm parts, and that's really the goal of rhythm playing, we want it to sound as uniform as our drummers mechanically assisted drum strikes. Like that kick drums on a spring hits a pedal. Obviously, the amount of input from the kick, the foot itself changes the way it responds, but we want to really bring that level of homogeneity into our rhythm guitar playing. Everyone of a younger generation, boomers, Gen Xers, have sort of a Spinal Tap approach to rhythm versus lead. For those of you who have never seen Spinal Tap, homework, go and watch Spinal Tap, and Spinal Tap 2 was quite endearing, and rest in peace, Rob Reiner, for sure. But if you've seen Spinal Tap, when they introduced the band, everyone's introduced as the lead guitarist, right? And there is this sort of attitude that rhythm is the lesser of the two trades. And I am here to tell you that if you are doing your job right, you are going to be every bit as tired, if not more so, than the lead guitar guy, because he gets all these rests and we don't. We have to sit there and really grind it out. And like, if you do one of those jump blues figures, yeah, it's tiring. All right, so let's talk about some tricks. Because I used to have to do 3-hour set of this, and oh man, even after doing this for so many years, these are exhausting. So there's a few tricks that I started to learn from the old blues guys, watching videos and stuff. One thing is, we'll take this power chord figure, right? So this is my root, this is my fifth. Hopefully most of you know that that's the octave, right? So root, fifth, fifth, root. So if I'm doing this, and harmonically, it has the same function. I know they're not exactly the same thing. One's obviously high and one's low, right? But enharmonically, this function's the same. And that means ergonomically, if I want to, instead of me going, ooh, that's stretchy, right? I can come up here, kind of get into a more rest grip. Now, you might say, okay, that sounds a little shelled out, though. And I feel you on that. But you could do something like, much easier to do that, right? And there's something kind of interesting and musical about the fact that we're keeping all these intervals. There's my first, this would be A, then here's D, right? And then even E, root. Almost started to sound like I will follow there for a second. But yeah, like something kind of elegant about that. And it does allow for these really nice, quick figures. In particular, when you are doing it across D, G, and B, right? You can actually keep that whole chord triad there. So, or it's a little bit off the beaten path. And especially if you're playing with a bass player, odds are you will be. If you're just jamming with your buddies, you got to be giving that bass figure. But if you got a bass player going, anything like that, right? You don't actually need to be hitting that root because he might even just be hanging out. If he's lazy, man, he might just be going. Then I really don't need to do that. Adds a lot more into the mix here. All right. Second exercise for today's video here that I want to add in. I want to keep these streams a little bit on the shorter side in terms of practice. I don't want to inundate anybody too much. But if there's questions and answers, of course, I'm always happy to go longer. Our second exercise here today is going to go different genre entirely. We're going to get into the punk stuff. All right. Johnny Ramone presents a really great model for rhythm guitar playing, not just for punk, but for all sorts of things, because it's a very punchy rhythm figure that is his default figure. Enough talk, more rock, Chris. Okay. So if I am doing a rhythm figure here, the temptation would be to just do eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. And there's something to be said for getting that nice and loose. Actually, a big model for me on just getting that like endless downstroke thing going is watching players of the Japanese koto do their thing, because almost everything on the koto is downstrokes, and like they will do these really rapid downstrokey sorts of things, and you can see that that is coming off of a fluidity of the wrist. Certainly something to strive for. However, if you are doing the Giant Ramone figure, what he does is instead of doing all 8 strokes, we go 1, rest, 2 and 3, and 1, rest, 2 and 3, and 4, and 1, rest, 2, 1, rest, 2, and shut up, Chris. Stop counting. 3 and 4, and 1, 2 and 3, and 4, and 1, rest, 2 and 3, and 4, rest, 2. So that is the general count. The reason Ramone did that is it allowed him to get to the next chord change with a little bit of a buffer zone. So if you were just doing straight eighth notes, the margin for error, especially at like 180 BPM, is much tighter. Whereas if you've got this built-in rest figure, it smooths out the landing pad. It slightly widens it up. And in the context of punk, that's kind of everything. So let's go ahead. I'll do the 3-minute version of this, and let's try to do eighth notes and see how fast we can take it. For reference here, if you are doing this at home, want to get some reps in, 185 BPM is what Johnny Ramone recorded Commando at. Like, I want to say slightly below that. It's like 183 or 84. I know I'm splitting hairs here, but like I just for point of reference here. So you don't necessarily need to hit 200 on an accelerating metronome drum beat to be effective on this. All right. You can do this. One. Oh, come on now. 1 and 2 and what are we doing over here? And 2. There we go. 4 and 1. Rest. That comes actually a little glitchy. I actually hit 185 today. That felt good. Okay, not bad. I had like one little gallop around like 182 or something like that. Try just as a comparison exercise, like sometime try comparing the Ramones figure to just doing a straight eighth notes count, especially over a span where you've got to kind of endure and hold down that figure. That is so exhausting at length. Years ago, I got down about 3 years ago. It wasn't like 10 years ago or nothing. But I decided to like take up the challenge of learning how to play Commando by the Ramones at the speed that they are doing it, which, okay, I know like 6/9 chords and all that other fancy crap, right? Whole tone scales and all that shit. But this is just a raw fundamental challenge where you have to just hold it down, and it's exhausting. And I feel like so often when I consume other teachers' material, and they've got a lot of good stuff to learn. I learn stuff, repackage it. So nothing wrong with watching other teachers' material. But I feel like not enough of them stress the importance of physical endurance, the physicality component of this. Making her first appearance on the stream here is Lady Hayes. being kept away from accidentally unplugging the Thunderbolt T3 cable from my driver here. Hello, baby girl. How are you today? I know. Okay, all right, old lady. Okay, she's over 20 now. She's I think old enough to buy beer officially. But she's still hanging strong, rocking along. So this is a lot more easy to sustain than doing the although in either case, the goal here is homogeneity, consistency. And you're going to get that, especially with a simple fundamental like this. It ain't nothing to do with the left hand, and you're not going to study this either, right? Like, there's nothing to study. If you got to the point where you can make this power chord, and I'm hoping if you're watching this video and you're interested enough in guitar, you've at least gotten on the power chords at this point, right? You don't have to sit there and study too much more. Okay, get your grip, figure out what's comfy, right? The important thing now is going to be coming down to your right hand, using this as an exercise point. Is my wrist loose? Am I taking advantage of the ricochet off the strings? Strings are giving you a little bit of pushback, right? How much power do I actually have to put into this? Especially for a downstroke. If I like, let's slow motion this, right? If I'm going down, I've got to pull it right back, right? Like there is a recycling motion. Obviously, you could even slow down this video here, right? And watch how my wrist does that recycling. It wasn't like it's not a loop. It's more like I'm bouncing up, kind of breaking the string playing and coming back around. I'm making a little bit of a circle, right? We want to get that to just be nice, fluid, and loose. Use the bounce of the strings to help assist that. So 2 simple exercises today, but don't sleep on them is all I can say. Because I joined, as I said, a couple of years ago, I joined that Chuck Berry style cover group thinking, okay, it's all Chuck Berry songs. It's not going to take me too long to learn, they're really rocking in Memphis, Pittsburgh, PA. Right? Like, I got that part. I understand how to play a basic blues format. I just did not appreciate how much endurance really goes into keeping and I'll actually end on that. The Chuck Berry figure, right? We talked about the blues side. We talked about the Ramones side. And Chuck Berry really lands like square in the middle as the transitional figure here. So the blues figure is shuffled up, two off, 2 on, right? Chuck Berry does not keep the shuffle. We are back into the 8th notes. Downstrokes all day like a giant Ramon style thing. But instead of us going off, on, off, on, I think to save time, Chuck Berry actually reduces this figure down to off, on, off. Then all of a sudden, once you start doing it like that, especially if you're coming from a punk background, you're like, yo, this is taking me back a couple of years here. These are much more insistent in driving figures than I had given them credit for. And they sound much more powerful than if you were going. There's like a kind of a nasty chop to that. This is very subtle, but there's an insistence in the slashing that comes from just nonstop downstrokes that you do not get when you go. it's a very, very different vibe. So some things to practice here today are a boogie woogie, the Ramon style thing, and then if you want to land somewhere in the middle, work on that Chuck Berry figure, doing it all downstrokes. Rhythm is in the right hand. That is the biggest thing that I can really stress here. And building up the endurance in your forearm is the best way to get your rhythm playing to sound more assertive. Because if it can sound good and assertive on an acoustic guitar, when you get back on, if you really need a Les Paul for 50s rock, I don't know, that's kind of pushing. I'm not saying, yes, 50 Les Paul was around in the 50s, I'm aware. Seems like you're kind of pushing it with humbuckers, right? Like when I think 50s rock, I'm thinking like Strats, maybe semi-hollows, right? When we're not using a ton of gain, as my band leader was fond to remind me of. So we're not busting out on tube screamers. It's all got to be coming off of this. It's not your rectifiers, right? So building up that strength in your forearm is the best way to get a more assertive rhythm playing thing, and just do it against the accelerating drum beat metronome until your arms start getting tired, which mine are. So that's going to bring me to the end of this New Year's Day stream. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, those of you who have. If you like the stream, like the stream. If you want more of the streams that you like, then you would subscribe, because then that would tell you, it would give you even more streams to like, wouldn't it then? If you want to support the channel, there is a Patreon here. Go to the bio, click on the Patreon. There's two sides here. I'll explain them real quickly. One, I just set up a default way to pay for lessons through Patreon for those of you who already have a Patreon set up, and it's just an easier way to pay for lessons, right? You can also just message me for lessons. Same rate, $35 an hour on Zoom. And it's like a loosey-goosey hour too. It's more like 75 minutes. We're not clock hawking over here. But the other thing is, if you want the Patreon side content, so things like breaking down Beatles songs, there's a lot of things that I can't do on a stream without running afoul of the YouTube copyright gods. So that is also going to be available on the Patreon, where we start putting stuff up there, masterclass videos, these sorts of things. So if that's stuff you're into, get into it. If it's not what you're into, well, then find something you love to do and then do it every day, and you'll never work a day in your life. Have a good one, guys.